All right, John, you were explaining something to me after our meeting about like how the market doesn't see what we see, or
Yes.
maybe
That's
and the market is educated from the influencers, right? The
Sure,
analysts,
sure.
Vendors are influencers. They're
Right.
doing the innovation. So what is it that no one sees that we see, or are they looking too short term? How come they can't think long term in what we're talking about for intelligent automation?
Great. So let's start with it. It's not a no one thing, and in fact, some of the estimates that I think are coming from analysts are going to be are too aggressive. Some of them are saying $200 billion of labor is going to be saved in year 2022, 23, and I think those will be hard estimates to actually even know if they come up. But here's the prevailing wisdom around an automation strategy goes something like this. And this is what's, I think, being said in C-level exec meetings and boardrooms constantly right now. And I think there's a fundamental flaw. So here's the prevailing thought, though. Hey, you got 100 people doing a task. We can reduce the amount of human labor in that task by putting a software robot on the desktop that person either also uses or instead of. And we can take 30% of that time away, which frees you to either release those 30 people, 30% of your staff, or repurpose them for some other activity. Or typically, by the way, most people don't lose the job to an automation. What they do is the business grows without having the same labor cost function that it used to have. None of what I said is a bad thing. Totally love it. Absolutely appreciate the RPA guys who really blazed the trail for the automation, for the whole automation space, because in fact, they got to the C-level meetings and they got on the boardroom and they said, hey, automation can help you do big things.
Well, with that, I mean, that's a C-level conversation. If you can increase your revenue by employee or your return on assets, that's a good thing.
And it's absolutely true. It's accurate in many cases. Those RPA projects are doing that. God bless them, right? The challenge is there's only a certain amount of scope for that. And in fact, what happens when you do those kinds of activities is the antonym of digital transformation. Why do I say that?
Yeah, what do you mean by antonym of digital transformation?
Pardon me. What we're doing is we're taking, say, an 8-step process, and we're hard coding several of those steps. Instead of it being people who could get together in a meeting room like this, say, hey, why don't we do this different and better, and then go out of that room and do it different or better, we've now made it a programming job, what, let's say 3, 4, or 5 of those steps actually are, which means they're much harder to change. They're actually robots doing the same rote thing over and over again. So we're not gonna get from 8 steps to 5 steps very easily. We're actually gonna be harder to get that transformation to happen. So we consider task-based automation that is not orchestrated, there's not something orchestrating those tasks for a better outcome. We don't consider that digital transformation at all. That is certainly a very valuable, right, like I already said, a very valuable incremental cost reduction, and could be a velocity thing. Usually not, but it could be an increase in velocity for the business. But none of that's going to be orders of magnitude, right? Clearly not. We represent, and the copycats of Krista will come, and so this will be a whole space, right? And we call ourselves intelligent automation. Whatever that market evolves out to be, that will be an orders of magnitude transformation. I mean, it'll have nothing to do with what does the existing organization look like, and what the existing systems look like, and what the existing user interfaces look like, and what are the existing people sitting in those. That's not the beginning of the conversation if you're actually talking about digital transformation, are you? What you're trying to define with transformation is, what is my end state? And then how do I conform what I do to that end state? Not, how do I capture the current state and make it a little bit more efficient, right? So that's why we call the most current motion in automation the antonym of digital transformation.
Yeah, so you probably need to like level set what digital transformation means, because some people may think that it is, I should digitize my current process, which is you're saying is a bad idea. And like, no, think about point A and point B. What's the least amount of steps?
Right.
And least amount of machines, least amount of people. Like maybe you're doing it wrong because you've introduced steps so people can use the systems. Maybe that's unnecessary.
Correct. So of course, no one gets to say, I am the holder of the actual official definition of digital transformation. So we're not here to pick fights on what the best definition is. Ours is, as I described, empowering a business to transform its operation through digital means, right? Our goal is to have businesses function unbelievably better and invent absolutely wicked new things because of the capacity constraints being let go of it and the velocity of that business accelerating and all kinds of great stuff. We think technology is clearly an empowering capability for businesses to do that, and we think that as currently deployed, most don't, right? We've read the stats. We didn't make them, we read them. 35 or 50 apps on the typical corporate desktop. Over 800 custom-built apps inside the typical large US enterprise. Hundreds of packaged apps and SaaS apps that are also there. Users switching 1,100 times a day, which means there's very little actual automation occurring. What's actually happening is we're shoving all the capabilities onto desktops and saying, you sort out how to get there, right? The exact opposite of the autopilot example. Autopilot is, here's the destination, you tell me if you need something. We're doing the opposite. We're saying, here's every button I could possibly, picture the cockpit of an airplane. You're doing that to your people, only they're not high-paid airplane pilots and they haven't spent hundreds of hours in training simulators. You're putting it right down, you're putting it right in the air, right? So our goal, the software's goal, and the approach that we are taking to helping real digital transformation occur. I don't like using the word real because it sounds like the other is fake, and that's not fair. But the point I'm making is a meaningful, a hugely impactful digital transformation is about how do I achieve that business outcome without actually it touching a person.